So the first one is the cause. The cause for a full awakening is our potential, our Buddha nature. Sometimes it's called Tathagata Garbha, meaning that the mind is pure. The mind can be developed to such a state where all negative emotions are totally eliminated and all positive qualities like love, compassion, wisdom and all that is developed. And the cause is in us. We carry that with us. Every being, every mind carries that with them. So in order to develop it, you need the second one, which is the base, which is a precious human rebirth. Because an animal, even though they have this potential, but they are not able to develop it, because you try your dog or your cat to tell them how to sit and to meditate, and you tell them about compassion, that it's okay to share, they don't need to be afraid, and the more they share, the more they will get. Well, this they don't understand. So you can have cats, even though you feed them every day, but they're still very territorial and still afraid, instinct-wise, still afraid of not really wanting to share with others, even though there's plenty. So the human mind can figure all this out. Something what the human mind also can do, a human mind can bear quite patiently hardships when it's for the benefit of long-term well-being, like, for example, dentist. Yeah, if you go to a dentist, people don't need to put you to sleep or put some, kind of tie your hands and tie your legs and put something in your mouth so you don't bite the dentist, in general. Yeah. He says, please open your mouth, or even without him saying, you open your mouth. And it hurts, yeah. So because you know that he is there to help you, you hold still. If somebody would, if you would think that this is torture, then you wouldn't hold still, you would fight, right? Yeah. So animals, I know again there's exceptions, that's what sometimes people say, that my dog or my cat, they're very patient. Yeah, of course that exists, I do know, but in general, the dog, you take them once to the vet, he comes, second time you want to take him, he's already around the corner, he goes, ooh. Yeah. Because this is what animals cannot do. They cannot patiently bear pain for long-term benefit. Yeah. So this is why we need precious human rebirth, and we will go to it also tonight, what exactly it is. That's the base. Then the contributing causes or conditions is a spiritual friend. And here I really talk about the guru, about the master. Because, this whole thing about enlightenment, if you don't have contact with people who really live what they teach, and you can see that they're sometimes even in a different dimension than we are, it's very difficult for us to develop that faith and trust that we can do it as well. Yeah, the Buddha, he lived like 2,500 years ago, so I don't know how he behaved. I never heard him. There's no YouTube videos of the Buddha, unfortunately. But then if you have gurus, masters who practice that you can have devotion to them and they can guide you. You allow them to guide you. It's more that. It's not that they don't have the ability to guide you, but it's like with our arrogance and with our mistrust. And it's good to be cautious also, not to trust just anybody who comes and says, I'm a guru. Is needed, because there's so many things to practice, and at one point you need somebody who helps you to stretch your comfort zone a bit, because otherwise we just settle for the things we like to do and are easy and not so difficult, and then that's it, we leave it at that and we stay with that and we don't make any progress. It might be very nice, but it's kind of stagnating. It's all about transformation. So he helps you to stretch your borders, he or she, and also is a living example so that you can develop respect. Yeah, that's the two attitudes that you have towards your guru, is respect and devotion. But for that, first you have to test the person, you have to see. If it's just some high Rinpoche that comes and is here 2 or 3 days and then goes again, it's like, yeah, it's okay to ask them for advice, but you need to follow the advice, and then usually the trust comes when you see I really didn't like what he said, but I did it and then it works. So this is also how faith and trust is developed. And we'll probably also talk at one point what a guru is. I think it comes fourth year or something. What a guru is, the qualities of a guru, and so on. But a guru, not just a sangha, but really a kind of guru, a master, is a contributing cause for you to develop on this path. And then the first one is the method. So the guru gives you the method. And then he's like a good trainer who does what he is trying to train you in. Yeah, because it's absolutely not inspiring if your guru tells you to be generous and you see how he or she is kind of gathering a lot of donations and they all spend it on themselves or something like that. You see, when you see Lama Zopa Rinpoche when he goes shopping, I've never seen him, but his disciples or people who work for him, I mean, in a way he's like a child. When you see when he goes shopping, so you have these, it's in America, either in Washington State or in California, and Rinpoche loves to make offerings to the Buddhas. Like, you know, he has cards and cards. These American cards are really big, like 3, 4, 5 monks. They all go to the supermarket and then they buy flowers, artificial ones, real ones, and this and that and this and that, and then Roger's there with the credit card. And Rinpoche, he has nothing in the card that is for himself. Only offerings to the Buddhas. He has so much joy in making offerings to the Buddhas because, yeah, he is living in a different dimension. I don't know if you know Lama Zopa Rinpoche. Anybody who's ever met him? Yeah, so what do you think? Yeah. Is he same as us?
He taught us. I didn't. He was our teacher in Kopan.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's, I know him. I didn't see him sleep, or he was all the time.
He never sleeps.
So,
yeah,
of course, I didn't.
He doesn't lie down to sleep. Sometimes he nods off a little bit, but he never lies down to sleep. And he's constantly seeing people, constantly giving advice to them. Never on a holiday. He had a stroke a few years ago, and so the first video that came, like the first YouTube video, is him in hospital, like the right hand not working, this lip like hanging down, not being able to talk, and one of his attendants is trying to put a pill on his lip. He's wearing a bib because because of that lip he can't retain the saliva, and he allowed people to film him and put it on the video and put it on YouTube. So they tried to put this pill in his mouth, and he kept falling down. And the more he fell down, the more Rinpoche laughed, until he had everybody in stitches, like rolling on the floor with laughter. So this is their way of making us feel comfortable by saying, look, okay, I had a stroke, but I'm not suffering. It's okay. You don't have to worry. Yeah. So he is definitely very, very special. How many of us would allow people to film us in such a state with the bib and, dribbling, and then put it on YouTube and be happy about it? Yeah, not many, I think. So this is why I'm saying, if you see your guru that is, is spending the money all on himself, then probably not so inspiring. So this guru needs to inspire you for you to be able, with this inspiration, to apply these methods, and because to one he says this, and to another one he says that. Like this very nice story from the Theravadan tradition, where one monk goes to see, I think, Ajahn Chah, and he says, a Western monk, he says, all the Vinaya rules and all the vows of the monks is really hard. I can't practice. It's too difficult. It's actually, instead of helping, it's hindering my practice. So he says, yeah, you're right. And then the other one comes and says, oh, these vows are so beautiful. They're really helping my practice. I have so much more energy by keeping these vows. And then Ajahn Chah also said, yes, you're right. And then the third monk heard it, and he goes and he says, but, teacher, both can't be right. And then he said, yes, you're right. Yeah, so it's like a good doctor who knows what kind of medicine applies to which person. Even if the people have the same sickness, sometimes you can't give the same medicine because there's so many conditions that have to be considered. So the first factor is the method, that you need a method in order to transform your mind. You can't just wishing and hoping, that's the first step. like to have a motivation, an aspiration to do something, a wish. I want to be a kind person. You need to want that, and then you need a method in order to attain that. And the fifth one is the result. Fifth factor, of course, the result is Buddhahood or full awakening. And the sixth factor is then the activities of a Buddha. As I said, the Buddha's minds are always here, and the Buddhas are always concerned about us, and they're like good parents who have the ability to see or to feel where their children are and how they are, and sometimes there's the connection between parents and children. So, I'm talking here about ordinary people. So sometimes the connection is so strong that the parents feel when the children, even though they're very far away, are not doing well. I don't know if you heard about this, or if you yourself, you kind of were able to do that you had a feeling that something is wrong because the connection is so strong. And here we're talking about awakened beings, about Buddhas. Yeah, so then they are concerned with the well-being of all beings. So again, this whole thing, and if you study Shantideva, I think it's in the 5th chapter, beginning of the 5th chapter, where he says the Tathagatas are always around. So just this thought, if you are a practicing Buddhist, it really helps you. Same as for Christian, that Jesus is always there. You can always, you can always make requests, and you can always connect to that energy. With the Jewish people, I think it's God, yeah, that you can always connect. And then it's not that there's a hand coming out of the sky and kind of giving you a parking spot or something like that. But it makes us more confident and more open, the same way as if you have a child at home and the child thinks that mother is still out, and then the child hears a kind of sound or some noise and thinks, mom is back. Immediately they calm down. Maybe mom is not back at all. Maybe something fell or something like that. But this is it. It's to give us the confidence that we are well looked after. So the activities of a Buddha is to guide people to that same state. But not if they don't want to, not if they are Christians, Jews, Muslims, and they say, no, enlightenment, nothing's not for me, then they leave them alone. So it's like that, yeah. Like the condition that they can guide you has to come from you also. Same as with what's it called? Same as with a therapist. If the patient is not cooperating, then better leave them alone, because otherwise you just get upset that they don't do what you're telling them to do. What do you do if you are a therapist and you see that you're giving good advice to somebody and they come back week after week after week and they don't really follow what you say? How do you feel? What do you do? What does that make you? Huh?
That the advice is not good. So it can be that the advice is not good. It doesn't fit this person.
Is that what you think?
Yeah.
Okay. I think I got a lot of good advice I didn't follow because I was too lazy.
It was not the timing.
You're a very tolerant therapist.
Yeah.
Wow. Mine also, they didn't really care that much, but I would even say I didn't do the exercises. I was too lazy, that was it. So they kind of said, yeah, I knew from the beginning. One, I think I asked him, an osteopath, I said, don't you want to give me any exercise? He said, no, I don't think there's a point. I'm sure you're not going to do it. So he was very clever. Yeah, so, but this doesn't mean that the advice he would have given me was no good. It was just that I was too lazy to follow it. So, okay, Miri deals with this in a very good way. What about the others? Are you also so tolerant?
No. Usually I'm trying to find new and creative ways to motivate.
To motivate
the person to do things, because they are the only ones that can help themselves.
Yeah,
if
exactly.
they won't do it, it won't help them.
Yeah, but do you continue to just give them advice, or?
I'm trying. As I told you, I'm trying to find new ways to...
Well, you're on a very good way of becoming Buddhas, because that's what Buddhas do. They never give up on us, They never feel like, oh, hopeless case. Yeah. So nobody has ever felt like that as a therapist, that you think, oh, hopeless
It
case.
is frustrating.
Huh?
It is frustrating.
It's frustrating, yeah. It's frustrating. But it doesn't have to be. Like, again, I see in our society also, which that I think it's a real shame, you know. I can't remember how we got to talk about this. I think with young people also, when it's like we are not happy when the result is not good. And what would be good if we would learn, I do my best, but I'm not omnipotent. I can't, as you say, I can't force that other person if it doesn't come up. And then that's good enough, and we're happy about this. That we're doing what we can, and that's good enough. But it's very, very difficult in our society. You know, somehow we don't really trust ourselves that we did our best, because as a proof, we need the good result outside, that at least there is some effect. Yeah, and I think that's a shame. So we can also really learn to, okay, I tried, so that's good enough. But then there's nothing to show, because there's no result, but you don't need to show anything. Main thing is that you're trying. So yeah, so the Buddhas never give up on us.
It took me a while to learn how to give advice to friends. I'm not a therapist. I used, before I met Buddhism, when friends came for me for advice, I used to expect them to follow it. And if not, how dare you? Coming at me to advice, I give you advice and then you do the other thing.
Yeah.
Wow. So it takes some, for me, because I wasn't born with it, took a while to learn just to give advice and let go. And it's okay not to follow it.
Yeah, exactly.
Do whatever you want. And if you can bring it to the profession field, good.
Yeah. Yeah, it's something that we can learn. It's something that we can train in, and the more the more you get good at it, I think the easier your life is, but also the easier the life of your patient. But it doesn't mean, as Orna said, you know, it doesn't mean you say, okay, I did my best, that's it. So it's always, where is that middle line, where I push, or where I get frustrated, or where I stop giving advice, or where. So again, nobody can tell you that. You're the only one who can find out. And then the clearer your motivation is why you want to help this person. Yeah. Because very often also we help because, it makes us feel good about ourselves. It gives us status. Quite nice to say, you know, I'm working with dying as a volunteer, or with prisoners, or with, I don't know, you know, difficult children, or whatever. Yeah, so then we have to see what is my motivation for doing that. And then I'm not looking at you now, I'm looking at nobody, okay? Because I'm sure none of you is like this. But then if you do it in order to earn money, then the more they don't follow your advice, the better. Because then they come back again and again and again and again. So also there's no need to be frustrated if you are a therapist, because you do it for money. Usually it's a bit of a mix of everything. You want to help others, but also you have to earn some money, so you can't just offer it freely, and so they also pay, and so like this. So these are the 6 factors of what is called to enlightenment. You can find something very, very similar, I don't know if you know, in texts like, for example, Uttara Tantra, Buddha Nature, by Maitreya Sangha, which has sometimes I'm getting myself into trouble. Has 7 Vajra points, which is Buddha, Dharma, Sangha, the element, which is the Buddha essence, the Buddha nature, that is being explained. Then the result, like enlightenment, qualities, and activity. So it's quite a big book. You have it here. It's called Uttara Tantra. It has nothing to do with Tantra, because Tantra means continuity, and Uttara means sublime, because it leads you to enlightenment. So it explains very well about Buddha nature. It's a very nice text. Yeah, so I don't know if you never requested for anybody, not me, but other people to teach. It's a very, like geishas or something, a very, very nice text to kind of strengthen a bit our confidence in that, in our own Buddha potential. So the obstacles that we can have on the path is, of course, if you don't have a precious human rebirth, but it's also attachment to this life, that the happiness of this life is much more important than your next good rebirth. So you do all kinds of negative actions in order to have enough, whatever is enough, to survive. Then attachment to pleasures, of course, because sitting and listening to Dharma teaching is not so pleasant. I know a lot more pleasant things to do on days like that, than just sitting here and listening. So also an obstacle to full awakening is attachment to your own peace, to nirvana. So then you stay there, which is, again, it's not a bad thing, but then you will not attain enlightenment, although they say, the Buddhas come and kick you out of there. I don't know if it's true or not, this I don't know. And then a big obstacle is of not knowing the path. Yeah? Just having a wish to say, oh yeah, enlightenment is a very nice idea, but no clue what it is and how to get there. So it implies a lot of studies also. And then you need the Buddha as the doctor, you need the Dharma as the medicine, but then you also need the Sangha, like the people around you who practice it with you. And then when you have the motivation and you want to transform your mind, and then you're already on a good way. So when we talk about precious human rebirth, it has some very kind of structured points that are that one says when they're there, then one talks about precious human rebirth. Because very often people make the mistake, they think that every human rebirth is precious. Not every human rebirth is precious, because why? Question to you.
Because when you have to survive for the basic things, you don't have time you don't have the energy to train the mind.
Mm-hmm. For example, another point.
If you have a mental issue,
Huh?
mental issues are...
Mm-hmm. Or if you're very clever and use your intelligence to harm others, then you would do much less damage as an animal, for example. Then it would be better for you to be an animal. So it's only a precious human rebirth. When you have mental issues, no, it can still be precious if the issues are not too big. Okay, well, I'll tell you what it means, precious human rebirth. But if you have tendencies of exploiting or harming and all this, and you use your intelligence to do that, then your human body and your human intelligence becomes quite harmful for yourself, for future self, because you create a lot of negative actions. That is why. So it's not necessarily, and also precious human rebirth, you're not born with it and then you have it until you die. Yeah? Some of these factors, yes. So maybe we go into the factors. Yeah.
If the birth itself, it's not precious human life, then what you would do with it, it's another thing.
When you have the conditions, you call it precious, but the birth itself, no, it's just a human body.
Okay.
A human body, which as the cause for the human body is ethical conduct. Then if it becomes a precious human rebirth, that means you've been practicing before. When you have the conditions, let me maybe go through these 8 freedoms and 10 endowments, and then we see what is a precious human rebirth. And what we're going through here is just the conditions. Now, what really makes it precious, if you use it. But not every human being is using their life to help others and to transform the mind. Most of the beings, they as you say, they have to struggle for survival. They don't have time to do all these things. So when they talk about 8 freedoms, you might have, the ones who know them, you might have recognized them when we did the meditation. Yeah? Did you recognize anything? Huh? We did the meditation before dinner, so I appreciate to have a body that is not so full of pain, and having having access to food and all these kinds of things. So you might have recognized it. But that was really, put it very mildly, and taking it into this world. When they talk about this kind of things, then it means you have to be free from not being born a human. Meaning there's other rebirths, and we talk about these, where you can be reborn tomorrow. I'll explain that also. Again, it's the Buddhist view. I saw you have in the Marsan, you have a huge wheel of life. That is huge. So there you have these 6 realms. So maybe we can, if it's not too difficult, we can.
We put it here once. It's possible.
Is it? Yeah. Or maybe just here, like over the. But otherwise, we can leave it.
We can do it for tomorrow.
Well, I'll just go through the 6 realms, and then because there's pictures there.
In other temples, we've not that big.
Yeah, I know, but they're quite dark and it's difficult to recognize.
We'll put it for tomorrow.
We'll see. But only if it's not too many problems.
No.
Put it maybe on a pole, or on the side or something.
We can put it there, I think.
We'll see.
I don't know how. No, I don't know how.
It's huge. I saw it. So then it's very well to see. The whole thing. I will not explain the 12 links anyway. I will just show you the pictures of, but also it's not that absolutely necessary. It's okay. We'll see tomorrow. So one can be, to be human means having to be like being free from being born in a hell state. So does hell exist? Is it a different dimension? I don't know, but the description of it is quite vivid. It is said that people, they're called deloks, they can travel to these places as bodhisattvas also and trying to help, and it doesn't sound very nice. But basically what it is like that you have a body that is very, very sensitive, and it's filled with excruciating pain day and night. And there's no ways, there's no painkillers, there's no medical resort, there's no Red Cross, there is nothing. So you just continue to suffer. And as you continue to suffer, it is not that you're just exhausting your negative karma. You create more because you fight. There's a lot of fighting down there. So basically the mental states of hell is fear, paranoia, and aggression. And you can take it into this world if you want. Yeah? And incredible heat and incredible cold. And if you are interested, it's like in the bigger Lamrim books or other books, then you have descriptions of what is happening in these states. Yeah, so what makes us go there, we'll talk about tomorrow, because otherwise I don't finish.
You see fear and hatred?
Yeah, paranoia and aggression and pain and heat and cold and fear, of course. But also paranoia, you don't trust anybody. Yeah, so there are places like this on this planet, I think, where, or used to be, like in Nazi Germany. Nobody trusted anybody because they didn't know whether they're going to tell the, what's it called, the SS or somebody, the Gestapo that you are against Hitler or whatever. Like,
Fear.
very difficult. There's a lot of paranoia and the neighbors kind of telling on each other, and then it continued the whole thing in Eastern Germany for quite a while actually with this with the Stasi. So I don't know how it is here.
No.
I can imagine that in Syria.
Nobody is kind of controlling you that you're not aware of, that they're controlling you?
No.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. What if I go out and talk against the government and against Netanyahu and all this, and people start...
You're most welcome.
People start to listen to me and all that. Don't you think I would be discriminated?
No. On the contrary.
Yes, you won't be able to
What
get
are you
inside.
talking? If she
Just
was
don't do
like
it.
this, next time when she comes,
Not
then
yet,
I'll
let's say next
Yeah,
Oh,
just don't do it in the airplane.
Or if I come and I say I come to help the Palestinians, they don't let me in next time. They don't even let me in the first time. This is, I'm coming in and out of this country. So it's like, this is it. They really want to know what I'm doing here. This is why I need this letter every time. written by Jews that
But
I'm
you know that
helping.
terrorist
the Jews.
actions,
Huh?
that make explosions in cities and stuff, they make us controlled also. Like we are controlled to not let people help Palestine or whatever.
Yeah, for example. So it's a
A lot
fact,
of
you know.
terror.
I mean,